Colombia is asking itself, what does it mean to be an institution of higher learning in the 21st century? What do we do in order to leverage the opportunities that the world is presenting to us? What do we do as a university that is committed to global education and helping address global challenges?
Some universities' strategy is to set up branch campuses. We've decided not to do that. How do we do it? Provide people and places around the world to help our students and faculty to experience that new world.
The global centers are an outgrowth of a great vision of our president, Lee Bollinger, who came to the conclusion that we needed to and we wanted to be out there in the world, engaged in a real sense. We do not invest in brick and mortar. We do not recruit students. We do not hire faculty. All of the global centers are meant to grow organically, based on the interests of our faculty and students and on the opportunities presented through the global centers in those regions, countries, and cities where we operate.
So we now have, after 3 years of work, global centers set up in 8 cities of the world. Paris, the European Center, Istanbul, Amman, Jordan, Nairobi, Mumbai, Beijing, Santiago, and Rio. They're ready to go. They have very sophisticated leaders.
These centers are not easy to explain, and if they were easy to explain, then perhaps they would not be as creative, as innovative, as promising as they actually are. But part of it is, let's get out there, let's build the infrastructure, let's create the incentives, and let's promote and facilitate, and let's see where it takes us.
There's so much give and take that's taking place, and that's all about learning, and Columbia is about learning.
Our model is about engagement. It's about learning with, learning from.
Well, there's a great important change that's taken place in terms of curricular affairs at the college, and that is, for the first time, Columbia undergraduates are going to be able to take a portion of the core abroad. The faculty have decided that there would be 2 courses, art humanities and music humanities, that could be taught in the global centers.
So when you're taking a course and spending 9 weeks in Jordan or 12 weeks in Kenya, okay, and those are real examples, you are traveling there with your faculty. And the work that you are doing there is connected back to your coursework here on campus.
My question is, I know the Santiago and Rio de Janeiro centers work with regional issues, but I would like to know if you work directly with the Caribbean region, or if there is a possibility.
We hope there'll be more exchange of ideas, cultural dialogue, professional and cultural enrichment through this whole concept of global centers.
The intended beneficiaries of the Global Centers Network are our faculty, our students, our alumni, and our partners, if you will.
Certainly the question, and I'm sure you've all encountered it, is where is Turkey headed? I mean, all these numbers, but...
It's not only Columbia experts coming and talking about their findings, their expertise, but also they're interested to listen, they're interested to collaborate.
We have several MOUs with local universities aimed at promoting joint research, student and faculty exchanges. We work very closely also with other think tanks and organizations in the Latin American countries and with governments.
We promote exchanges of the broadest and widest degree possible between scholars and students and researchers with their counterparts in Columbia University. 2-way exchanges.
When you get feedback from partners, from members of the community who tell you how delighted they are to have a resource such as Columbia in their backyards, you know that you're doing something good.
The reason that I'm here is not only to play for you, but also to form relationships with institutions in Rio to launch a musical program for study.
The whole idea is to get there and learn about these areas, their problems, and also their thinkings, their thoughts, and all sorts of things before we start contributing to the solution itself.
Global Centers is a brilliant idea. It's a really novel way of really doing something that needs to be done, which is fostering a global conversation on key issues that affect all of us and need to be solved.
It's no longer sufficient to have a good reputation and to be in a beautiful area on the island of Manhattan. We need to reach out and touch the world and be changed by that world.
Teachers College has set up a program in the Amman Center because of an invitation to try to help public schools to be more secular in the training.
And through that partnership, we have not only helped train more than 10,000 public school teachers in Jordan, but we have also learned a great deal. Sustainable development and the work of the Earth Institute and Jeff Sachs really formed the basis and the foundation for our presence in Nairobi and in Mumbai.
We're dealing with real people, with real resources, with real processes. And that makes a big difference because we can bring real lessons from the ground to policymakers and back to the campus.
We hope that the world is a better place because of the kind of engagement that Columbia is involved with around the world.
So in a sense, Columbia coming here is pushing an open door. And I think we'll be here as front seat observers, so to speak, to these major events that are transforming Rio in the next couple of years and beyond. And maybe in a position, hopefully in a position, to influence the trajectory of those events in ways large and small.
Greeting viewers, Columbia Global Centers Nairobi warmly welcomes you to our new and very timely series on financial inclusion, financial literacy, and the green economy. We have put together this series in response to the challenges that we are facing right now. Despite decades of economic growth and poverty eradication efforts in economies around the world, serious poverty still persists. You will find that underserved populations like women, the elderly, and the youth are most impacted by the financial, food, and economic crisis, which has been as a result of inflation, climate change, and environmental risks. Our series on financial inclusion, financial literacy, and the green economy was inspired by the fact that initiatives that are aimed at greening the economy have shown to improve the GDP, especially that of the poor, and also the quality and quantity of jobs. Our first speaker today is Dr. Duncan Ely. He will be speaking on the opportunities and barriers in green, climate, skills, education, and sustainable finance. Dr. Ely is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Business and Management Sciences at the University of Nairobi. Dr. Ely holds research interests in entrepreneurial finance, development finance, personal finance, and corporate finance. He is the founder of the Entrepreneurship Educators Foundation for Eastern Africa, the founder and editor-in-chief of both the African Development Finance Journal and the African Journal of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and the founder and coordinator of the annual Development Finance Conference. Our second speaker is Fahia Jama. She will be speaking on sustainable financing models for youth and women startups. Fahia is a lead business coach in Africa, training over 7 countries through Holby Solutions. She is a lawyer by profession with a tax and investment background. She is a lead consultant in Denmark on grant and proposals and has trained over 2,500 people in establishing innovative hubs. Fahia is a legal coach for entrepreneurs in Queen's University, Canada, and a commercial law lecturer at the Kenya School of Revenue Administration. I have touched on their bios very briefly, but we will be posting the extended bios in the chat area. As we begin, please note that our program is being recorded and we will be posting it on our YouTube channel. Kindly post your questions or comments in the Q&A section below. I would now like to welcome my colleague Lillian to guide the speakers from here. Welcome, Lillian.
Thank you, Pauline. I would like to confirm if you can hear me, please.
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you, viewers. It's wonderful to have you here today, and it's great to have Fahia and Dr. Duncan Ellie, who was once my lecturer. And I believe, as I can see from this list, some of them have been taught by Dr. Duncan Ellie. So karibu sana, our viewers from all over the world. Karibu means welcome. So today we are going to look at financial inclusion, financial literacy, and green economy. And why are we talking about the green economy? As you know, climate change is real. Recently, you saw in BBC, Nigeria is flooding. Kenya, we are seeing our first drops of rain in November. We should have seen that in August. So climate change is real. Anything to support us so that we can integrate climate action with our daily activities is what is welcome right now. And with the United Nations CAP 2022 focus on collective actions on climate change, this will be a very timely program for us. And it's not just a session. We're going to have a series of discussions, and this our first discussion will be on opportunities and barriers in green climate skills education and sustainable finance. So we look at what opportunities or barriers exist, so that then, because we know that traditional finance didn't integrate the green economy agenda, but now we are looking at how to integrate this with, so what opportunities exist for sustainable finance. And I believe this is where Dr. Duncan Ellie will be able to assist us understand what's sustainable finance, what's green finance, what's climate finance, how different are they, what should I go for as an individual? Those are the questions that are just ringing in my head. And then we also have our second session on sustainable financing models for youth and women startups. I don't know how many of us are youths and women in this place. So this would be a very a point to listen keenly. Finance is something that most people are looking for financing options and financing opportunities. So have your ears open so that then you can improve yourself. Then we come to leveraging on digital disruptions. What are some of the digital skills in rural setups to increase financial literacy and inclusion? And when you talk of digital disruptions, we are looking at both the positive and negative aspects of digitalization, things like artificial intelligence, blockchain. I mean, what are some of the opportunities and negative impact of digital on green finance, climate finance, and sustainable finance? Then we come to financial inclusion and literacy of non-literates, youth, women, and dropouts. This is Fahia's area, and she will take us over in the next session, not today. And then we look at creating an enabling environment for green financing. So that is mostly policy and structures to support the system. Today, we are going to look at two things: opportunities and sustainable financing models. And I don't want to take the floor. I would now like to welcome Fahia, and then I think Dr. Duncan Ellie will take over from there.
Good afternoon, all of you. My name is Farhia Jama. I am an advocate by profession who's very passionate about matters finance, matters commercial, and that's what you've heard in my bio. And today I'm here to share with you where the world is going. where is the next job? Where is the next opportunity? And I know all of you are wondering what's happening around the world. After COVID happened, after all these issues happened, the economic recession that is happening right now, we are facing a big challenge. But for the entrepreneurs in this call, or for upcoming entrepreneurs, whenever you face any problem, you need to see the opportunity. You need to have an extra lens, just like an insect. The way an insect has compound eyes, you need to have compound eyes to understand where the money is and where the money is shifting to. So I'll start you off with trying to engage you on matters finance, but first, are you actually financially literate? Is the question. Whether you're a young person, whether you're an older person, have you been able to manage your own finances? Have you been able to know what exactly generates money for me? There are three things that are your biggest asset. And those three things are either you have a good skill that generates you income, so that is your cash cow, or you have a profession that is generating for you income, or you're a business owner who's doing a business, selling a product or a service that is bringing you money. So with those three things in mind, the world has been on a roller coaster and things have been changing to what we expected to happen is not actually happening. So for us who have been into the space, you've been looking for jobs in a certain angle. So most of us have always been looking for blue collar jobs, have been looking for these opportunities or employment opportunities, but the opportunities might not be where you used to be or where you used to look for. So in that angle, we will start with a bit of financial knowledge that every person needs to have. There's some assets that can never be taken away from you. And those assets are skills and knowledge. The more knowledge and skills you have, the more you are able to earn. So how many of us have a skill that can generate income for them for the next few years of their life until retirement? And if you do have that skill, what exactly have you done about it for it to generate income for you? So if you start thinking on that angle, then now you'll be understanding why you actually went to school to earn a skill, earn information, because information is the new power. We are in the 21st century, and the 21st century, it means that the information you have might generate for you income, or it might not enable you to have the income that you're looking for. So some of the challenges that we are looking at is, as a person, what's one big asset that you have as an individual that you know that can generate income for you? Some of you are maybe accountants, some of you are lawyers like me, some of you are farmers, and some of the richest people who are going to be billionaires right now are going to be the farmers. But do the farmers at the farm understand that they're the people that people are looking for because of food security? You're seeing the drought that is happening in the different parts of our country, Kenya. Some of these issues could have been sorted out before, but we had a problem. Maybe some of us are not happy about going to the agribusiness. Yet today, agribusiness is one of the most biggest industry that generates a lot of income. So this year, we're just coming from election as Kenya, and one of the contestants talked about snake farming and talked about how to generate money about snake farming. And I know a couple of us just laughed it off. If you are keen enough, if you're financially literate, you could have gone to Google And then you could have gone to check how much is snake farming generating, and you could have jumped into it. Just like whenever it's raining, people jump into the business of selling umbrellas and they make money. Whenever there is exams happening, people jump into selling success cards and they generate money. Have you ever just gone to search and understand how much snake farming generates for our country? So apparently, snake farming generates 260 billion around the world, billion US dollars. It's not in Kenya shillings. And if it generates that, for example, you had a small place and you're not scared of snakes, you could have been a millionaire making money from the snake venom, which is used in creating some of the medicines that are being used in hospitals. So when it was on Twitter, people were talking about it, it was a joke. Actually, it's a real business that is really generating good amount of money. We're looking at things like flowers. One of my best friends, her father is into the flower business, so he's a florist. So whenever I used to go to my friend's place, I used to see them making so much money from flowers. So imagine if today you're a young person and you got into the flower business. Some of the people who are florists who are in this business make 4 million per week. 4 million per week. So, and one of the things that we export to different countries like UK, to US is flower. And you can just plant your flowers. You can choose to learn about flowers and make money out of it. So when I saw my best friend joining this industry, they organize events, create flowers, weddings, and just bring flowers to each and every shop or business. Like maybe your office is a bank and you just want flowers on your table. So someone makes money out of floriculture and horticulture. And we are not seeing how much all these things around us are making money and they can generate income for us. But we are looking for jobs in a certain area, and we think some jobs cannot be done. So someone told me, like, I cannot do a business in farming. That's not my area. I cannot be going to a farm. But that is how the generation, our young generation, are thinking. Yet that's where millions are being generated. So I am giving you those examples so that you can think through, where can I fit into this world? What is being sorted after? Food security is one of the biggest things. And can you imagine, you as a Kenyan, half of the meals on the table that you're eating are not even being created in our country. So you can imagine how much we are importing 99% of everything that we're eating. And yet we have so many lands, so many places, which are opportunities for us as Kenyans to tap into that market, to make money out of it, and just, you know, create a living or ensure that we live a better life and improve our lives. So financial literacy starts with you being having financial intelligence, understanding financial information, and financial literacy needs to be taught in schools, which is not actually being taught. So some of us have good skills, they are talented with a certain skill, but they don't know, how do I make money out of it? Where is the money? Some people are good at drawing, some people are good at, they have different artistic nature, like some people are good at plaiting hair or making certain materials like maybe tissue, these things that people are skilled in doing and maybe have knowledge on how to do it, but do we understand the business aspect to it? Do we understand how to make money? So that's what I do in a nutshell. I advocate for young people, women, and also men to understand where is the world heading to, where is the money right now, and how we can generate money. We are moving digital. We are the young generation. For those who are young in the call, we are having social media, and social media is one of the most free tools that you can use to advertise yourself. But there are people who are actually generating millions from the social media. That phone that you have, that Android that you have, people are making money out of it, but we are not aware where exactly are we making money from. Some have Instagram pages and some have TikTok right now. And TikTok has an earning tool. The more content creation that you're participating in, creating any content, videos and stuff, you can be earning monthly income just from that platform. The same way with Instagram, reaching a certain number, you can create content where people can follow you on your page. You can share your expertise, build a brand around your brand, and then start earning money from it. So that's the conversation we're having for today. And this is the stories we want to keep sharing with you. And we're looking forward to enlighten you with the right information so that you're able to see how much you can make and how much you can earn using the financial information we're sharing. Over to you, Lillian.
Thank you so much, Faria. That was really interesting to hear that one thing that Kenyans will ask themselves is, where is the money? That's a very good question. And then the other question maybe I would add, and Daktari will help us here, Dr. Duncan Eli, is how do I manage this money? How do I keep it? How do I manage it? How do I reinvest it? What's the cycle? That's what we also want to learn. So where's the money and how do I manage it? So I think that's the nutshell of this session and webinar. So I'll hand it over to Daktari. So maybe you can introduce us to the theoretical and practical aspects of financial inclusion, financial literacy, and the green economy.
Thank you, Lillian. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, you are.
And also you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. I today want to theme my discussion on the green economy. And I'm merging this with financial literacy and financial inclusion in the hope that majority of people sometimes find themselves excluded from the financial system just because they are not aware. And that is why I'm very grateful to Columbia for arranging this program so that our levels of awareness on the financial products and instruments that exist in the green economy become evident. Now, if I'm to start you up about the green economy, I'll start you with an African proverb that if your vision is for a year, you plant wheat, which can mature within 1 year. And if your vision is for a decade, if your vision is for a decade, then you plant trees. But if your vision is for a lifetime, then you plant on people. And I know even locally, we have been encouraged by the current government to plant trees. So that's the African proverb. Now, I want you to take a moment and look at the picture, and maybe if you can answer these questions, especially what's happening in this picture. Where is this? And who is doing this? And what should be done about this, whatever the person is doing? I don't know if you have answers to that question. But I know you may all concur with me that something is burning and some carbon is emitted to the atmosphere, and that has adverse effects on our environment. I guess that is the concurrence we have. Now, you've heard that there is climate change, and I want us to take a moment to look at climate change and its effects and impacts, not only on us, but globally. Now, on food, we are seeing falling crop yields in many areas, especially developing countries. But there are possibly rising yields in some high latitude regions, but there are falling yields in many developed regions. For water, we are seeing small mountain glaciers that disappear, and water supplies are threatened in several areas. And there is significantly large decrease in water availability in many areas. And the sea levels are rising, which are threatening major cities that are built close to the sea. Then our ecosystems, there is extensive damage to the coral reefs and a rising number of species that are facing extinction. Then we have extreme weather events like rising intensity of storms, forest fires, droughts like we recently had a very long one in Kenya, flooding and heat waves. Then we have risk of abrupt and major irreversible changes, like increasing risk of dangerous feedback and abrupt large-scale shifts in the climate system. So I'm not summarizing this to threaten anybody, but perhaps with these impacts and effects, there might be some other good side of it where the man is, and that is what we are supposed to discuss. Now, if we look at Africa and Kenya, you know, I started with this picture and I asked what is happening here and where is this? You know, this might not be Africa, but Africa is the least responsible in pollution, but it is the hardest hit continent with the effects of pollution, and we know why. But I've summarized here about information about the population in Africa and the expected population by 2050, the current urban population and the medium age, and the effects on climate change. But if we come to Kenya, by now we are 54 million people, and we expect to be about 55 million by 2050. The urban population right now is 28%, but this would rise to 46% by 2050. Now, currently our medium age is 19.2 years, but this might grow to 26.3 years future, which means increased population. Now, on water, about 75 to 250 million people are expected to face increased water stress in future. And this will adversely affect livelihoods and generate water-related problems, especially in North Africa, where there will be acute water scarcity problems. On agriculture, though Africa is suitable for agriculture, there might be effects on the length of the growing seasons, and the yield potential is expected to decrease, particularly in the arid and semi-arid areas. This will compromise food security, and nutrition can also increase. In the fisheries, there will be a decrease in not only the species, but large lakes will decrease activity due to rising water temperatures that are expected to negatively also affect food supply. Then the health sector, vector-borne diseases may shift, and malaria or cholera would shift to several regions. Then with the rise in sea levels, the mangroves and coral reefs will also be degraded, which also affects fisheries and tourism. And the coastal residents would expect some more flooding as the climate changes. Now, if we look at Africa, it's warming up faster than the global average. And that is why I say Africa is the biggest victim, but the least contributor. Now, the sea level rise in Africa has been faster than the global average of over 3 decades, and this projected to rise faster. This means a lot of floods, increased sea levels, increased rains and intensity, and higher risks of droughts and floods. But if we come to Kenya, Kenya is ranked 6th globally as the population that is most affected by natural disaster. And then continue to have the increased cycles of droughts every 10 years or floods every 3 to 4 years. And this has big impact and consequences on our economy. Nairobi alone, where we are, the temperatures have been increasing, and these are expected to rise. But generally in Kenya, the rainfall will be more intense, but quite unpredictable. Now, Africa and Kenya are very vulnerable to the impacts of climate variability and climate change because, one, we don't have good adaptation capacity, and then Africa has other stressors that make it very difficult to catch up. Now, this will mean that Africa can be hardest hit, especially on the development agenda, if the income, poverty, hunger are not addressed, health effects of climate change are not addressed, the displacements, migration, and conflicts that exist, and some of the poor infrastructure that we currently have. Now, if I summarize, what is expected is more severe droughts, increased desertification, changing ecosystems, reduced crop yields, floodings and storms, increased vector diseases, and of course, rising sea level. Now, this can only be addressed if we respond through adaptability. And adaptability requires your response, my response, and government response. So it's essential to use adaptation to manage climate change impacts and maximize the development outcomes that come out of it. But this requires individual efforts, government efforts, and multilateral efforts. Now, some of the things that have been proposed for adaptability include weather and climate forecasting, historical and real-time climate observations, like especially on weather climate forecasting. Somebody asked if we did know that drought would be in Kenya in the last few days, because it just became news immediately after election. So what was happening before election? To adapt, we need to include more resilient crop varieties. We should change the type of crops that we are planting. Then we need to look into technologies for water conservation and irrigation. Then we adapt new methods for combating land degradation. And then we look at new ways of treating malaria and other waterborne and vector-borne diseases. Now, if we are to adapt, then why the financial services sector? All these science about climate, how do they involve the financial services sector? Now, it is believed that the financial institutions remain the gatekeepers to a sustainable future. And so the financial system must keep the momentum going. The polluter is funded by the financial system, and funds for adaptation are also expected to come from the same financial system. Now, if you look at the role of financial services sector in trying to mitigate the effects of climate change, I'll look at what the governor of UK Central Bank noted. And he said that the combination of the weight of scientific evidence and the dynamics of the financial system suggests that in the fullness of time, climate change will not only threaten financial resilience, but will also affect long-term prosperity. Now, he lists some of the effects on the financial services sector, that it will cause banks and insurers direct losses from extreme weather. If you let people who are in agribusiness and they are exposed to extreme weather, then you have a default. The financial services industry will also have to incur future liabilities for financial terms and their clients, especially for those who will be seeking compensation for climate-related losses. And there is also the cost that will be incurred to shift our current economy toward low carbon emission economies. Now, the same governor pointed out 3 risks through which climate change affects the financial services sector. And these are notably the physical risk, especially insurance that is used to pay for climate and weather-related events like floods and storms when they damage property or they disrupt trade. Then liability risk that arise when the parties suffer from the effects of climate change, and transition risk, that is if we are moving from a high carbon economy to a low carbon economy. And so it's important that institutions start on the transition before the transition risks become higher. That is why corporations now have gone for the environmental, social, and governance reporting framework, where if you are conducting business, we need to assess you on the framework of your consciousness to the environment, consciousness to social matters, and consciousness to governance. Now, as you see environment, here we're looking at consciousness to energy, water, biodiversity, fuels, emissions, and environmental compliance and supplier environmental assessment. On social, we are looking at the social responsiveness, social impact, and stakeholder participation. Your sensitiveness to labor rights, human rights, and customer responsibility. Then, of course, governance. Now, if then I come back to green finance, and I liked that Lillian asked me to differentiate green finance from climate finance. So green finance is more than climate finance because it includes other environmental concerns like conservation, land, forest, water, oceans, resilience, and so on. So in green finance, we are looking at the use of financial products and services from the capital markets, from the insurance markets, from the credit markets to support green projects. And in this case, green projects are eco-friendly projects. So I would summarize that green finance is more sustainable project financing, and it includes many facets and many sectors, from the environment to agriculture to infrastructure and to energy. Now, how has green finance evolved? In the 19th century, concern was more on raising money through public sector financing to support environmental concerns. And these were done through taxation, charging fees, stamps, and governments spending directly on environmental concerns. In the 20th century, it was more of a mix of both public spending and philanthropic finance. But now in the last 25 years, there is increased intense need for involvement of private sector and development of new financial mechanisms to address issues around environmental conservation and the green economy. Now, if we look at the opportunities that are being raised by the current scenario, then we find that Africa is currently developing rapidly with a lot of urbanization. Even if you look at today's newspaper in Kenya, there's the affordable housing project, which is spread across many towns in the country. This means that there's significant investment that is needed to build infrastructure, housing, water, and power. And this we will only manage the effects of environmental degradation if we build in a climate resilient manner. So even the tenders should request people to be green conscious as they design those houses. Now, there's also this transition from being a carbon intensive economy to a carbon neutral economy. And then the need to provide food which are environmentally friendly, that can create green jobs and boost income. Now, this means that there are opportunities that can be invested in not only agriculture. And I liked the first speaker for mentioning that the new millionaires are the farmers, including the snake farm. Now, in Kenya, currently, 42% of the GDP is derived from natural capital. That's from agriculture, from forestry, from fishing, and from tourism. These are likely to be adversely affected, as we have seen, if the trends are not reversed. Now, we need therefore to preserve and enhance the natural capital so that we provide sustainable livelihoods for the current generation and the future generation. We also need to look at low carbon resilient growth, which enhances human well-being, including low air pollution, better health, reduced congestion, and opportunity to live in more attractive environment. Kenya can lead in green manufacturing and transformation in Africa because it has certain salient advantages. For example, in Kenya, we have renewable energy sources. We are at 93%. In Bangladesh, they only enjoy 3% of renewable energy sources. Kenya has green hydrogen potential. We also have ability to capture carbon, utilize and store it underground, especially in Rift Valley. We can also use our natural resources, which are there abundantly. And then we enjoy opportunities, the circular economy, where we convert waste back to useful forms. And of course, Kenya has a youthful, and I say not only youthful, but also innovative population that can be tapped on to be a leader in this discussion. Now, if we look at the green finance instruments, financial instruments can just be classified into 4 forms. Equities, which are stock or shares as you call them. Fixed income securities, which are debt instruments like bonds. Then there are guarantees, which are risk management tools, especially on insurance and so on. And then we have alternative investments like managed funds, financial derivatives, which mostly leverage on private sector capital. As I head towards conclusion, I've started to identify some of the instruments that can be used to raise green finance from both the capital markets and the credit markets. So in the capital markets where we trade on debt instruments and equity instruments, for the debt instrument segment, there are elements of green bonds that are raised, sustainability bonds, sustainability-linked bonds, structured bonds, green securitization facilities, project bonds, then green debt funds, and debt guarantees. For the equity market, there are green real estate investment trusts, green Islamic funds, ethical funds, environment, social, and governmental sustainability indices that are generated on how the levels of compliance by companies that are issuing the equity. There are the green property funds. Then there are the green exchange traded funds. But another emerging parts are the outcomes-based financing, like payment for ecological services, development impact bonds like zebra bonds that can convert, then debt for climate swaps, then we have carbon secured debts and even carbon markets. And this, like in Kenya, the carbon markets is just an emerging trade where we trade carbon credits. In the credit and insurance market, the financial institutions should think about raising green loans, sustainability linked loans, sustainability improvement loans, environment, social, and governance index loans. Then we have green credit guarantees and credit enhancements. But in the insurance markets, we can have green credit guarantees, parametric weather insurance, catastrophic bonds, resilience bonds, green bond underwriting, and green contingent credit. Now, all these kind of instruments would come from the financial institutions. And as you know, in the financial sector, there is a user and a provider. So there is need from the users, which are demand side, and there is need for the financial services industry to be proactive enough to structure these innovative products and provide them for purposes of mitigating effects of climate change and environmental degradation. Now, if you look at the guarantees, for example, you will expect to have certain parties who are three, that is the creditor, the debtor, and the guarantor. And so if you apply guarantees, for example, it reduces the probability of default by the user. And when you provide guarantees, then fund flow from the private sector into mitigating risks is encouraged. I therefore thank you very much for listening as I return this session back to Lillian. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hello?
Go ahead, Lillian.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very well delivered, simple, and targeting all levels, those who are knowledgeable in this area and those who are not. Thank you, Dr. for that good job. And so I encourage participants, please post your questions and answers on the Q&A or on the chat. If you want to talk, you can raise up your hand and Pauline will give you that right to comment or ask a question. This is from Isaac Mongare. He's asking, my question is tied to the circular economy. How is it relatable to the green economy?
Now, Isaac, the circular economy, we look at how to convert waste into productive use. For example, if you are talking about conversion of animal waste into biogas for use in the kitchen or the lighting. That would be an example of use in a circular economy. You're talking about taking plastics and converting them. There's a young man now seeing is trying to convert plastics into diesel that can be used to generate electricity. And that is participation in the green economy. So in the circular economy, you convert waste into useful products that then conserve the environment in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was on mute. Any other question from the audience? I have a few questions here. Does sustainable finance include the social aspects so that then it's bigger than even green and climate finance? And then previously, issues of identification, standardization and tracking of green investments and opportunities were the main barriers. I don't know if this has been addressed, that then there are clear standards and policies on how to identify a green opportunity. I would say this, most projects in Kenya, especially those that are donor funded, are dubbed climate smart. But if you check closely, you'll realize there's little of climate smart. I think it's because there's so much of investment in the field area. But as the system, the environment or the enabling structures been able to put up standards and measures to track and identify green opportunities and investments.
So if maybe I take your first question and the difference between sustainable finance and green finance. From my reading, they are used interchangeably, sustainable finance and green finance. But climate finance would be a subset of sustainable finance. It would also be a subset of green finance. So for green finance and sustainable finance, it's more about reporting and ensuring finance is subjected towards environmental conservation. So they still lie at the same level. And then for tracking, I think because this is a nascent industry, there is need for tracking and proper classification of green or smart projects, because in the absence of tracking and proper classification, then the efforts might not be worthy. So that, I would say, is still a barrier, and I think it's something that should be raised locally so that some innovative solutions can come out of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any question from the audience? I can see names that I can actually identify. Any of you who would like to comment or say anything? We encourage you to participate. You can raise up your hand. Okay, this is wonderful. Maybe to close it off, because we were looking at opportunities, so we have looked at the theoretical aspects, and maybe Dr. Thank you so much. You can stop sharing, so then we can be able to see the rest of the audience. Thank you. So maybe I'll request Faria, if you have any additional comments to the presentation, and then maybe your parting shot, and then I'll hand it over to Dr. Then we can close.
Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, Daktari, for that great presentation you've made. So some of the parting shots that I have is ask you, if you have attended this event, ask yourself, how much or where can I invest in the green finance to be able to make money out of that new or existing platform. So you have been presented with a chance of getting information of where the world is shifting to. The world is shifting to green financing. That's why you've had the president talk about planting trees. Just a good example I can give you on bamboo trees. Bamboo trees are one of the trees that people plant and people can earn money from. So in bamboo, one seedling can cost you 200 shilling, but when you're selling it, you sell as one bamboo stick, which is like 40, you sell it at 40 shillings per stick. So the seedling might be expensive to get, but once you start planting bamboo trees, in a month, you can earn 200,000 orders, and you can sell those bamboo trees and earn 8 million shillings, Kenya shillings from it. So if the world is shifting towards this, I'm trying to explain to you how now where the money is. Daktari talked about green loans, green finance, and now I'm trying to show you where the business is. If you planting a tree can earn you money, then why don't we do that? It's because we lack the financial information of what exactly a certain tree can earn you. So the trees you're seeing out there, they are good for our climate. Coming from a community from the northern area where we face a lot of drought, I wish I could go back and teach my grandma or tell one of my uncles living in these areas, these are other ways you can earn money apart from keeping livestock. These are other ways you can do irrigation. This is how you can do, and you can earn money from it. So some of the products that we're looking for that are even made in Kenya are things like macadamia nuts. We have high-grade coffee, we have tea, we have so many things that we do actually benefit from. Like if you look at the tea industry, it generates for us 130 billion shillings, which is even more than the income or the revenue of Safaricom as one of the most high earning companies in Kenya, which is at 77 billion. What does that tell you? That the world is shifting to a greener economy. You can establish your own institution, focus on how best you can ensure that you are thinking of how green your company can become. And if you can tap into the agricultural sector, then you will be able to make money out of it. So also renewable energy, solar powered electric boats are coming in. We have buses that are solar powered. We are seeing Tesla as a company, which is an electric company. So if people are moving to solar, God is also blessing us with the sun in Kenya and in Africa. How can we use it to generate renewable energy and ensure that we are able to supply and give other countries that need our services? So for me, my parting shot is, as you leave this room, start being creative, start thinking, how can I help the world? How can I plant a tree? How can I make money from it? And how can I be sustainable in the long run? So I am advocating for your financial inclusion, for you getting this information to the next level. Us giving you this information is just not enough. We need you to actualize it. We need more of you, and that's where Daktari has said it needs you, it needs me, it needs the government. The government cannot do this on its own. We need you to also take action, take one move and understand how this can change your life, change your family life, and also change the whole world, because now we're moving green. We're trying to avoid the effects of climate change, but we are also trying to incentivize each and every young person, each and every business owner, entrepreneur to start thinking of how to build a sustainable and an environment that is going to be there for our future children, and a place where we can also live and we won't have to face the actions of what we did before. So think about that. That's my parting shot. Make money, but make the world also a safe place for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabia. Thank you so much for that parting shot again. Remember, we need to also deal with the traditional financial literacy and knowledge gaps. For instance, to get a loan from the bank, there's some few things you need to have done. Maybe bank with them for 6 months. These are some things that I believe youths and women who don't have that knowledge may not be aware of. And this is what we want to address. We want to deal with first the foundational traditional financial literacy and knowledge gaps from there, and that is what Fahia will be looking at in December. We'll be meeting with a few youths and women that she's been working with, and you're welcome to join us. Maybe Pauline, you can tell us when this will be. I think it should be 4th of December, Pauline.
Yes, that's right. That's right, Lillian.
Yeah, and before that, we still have to look at the enabling environment, policies and structural issues, systemic issues that will support and create an enabling environment for green and sustainable financing. And that would we'll also look at digital disruptions. How can we leverage on digital technology to support green financing and sustainable financing? And then we come to the core of the item. What do I need to do to invest? This might not be for the team here, but the people who lack this knowledge, and maybe you can be a support system, you're welcome to the center. We will be hosting the youth and women here at the center. The event will also be hybrid, meaning you can attend online and also in person. And you're welcome. And before I close it, let me allow Dr. to give us his parting shot, and then we will close.
Thank you, Lillian, for this insightful thought, and Pauline. Thank you, Fadia, for those innovative ideas that I'm hearing as you are speaking. I was imagining myself in Lake Victoria in a boat case powered by solar. So these are the possible solutions that will come from such discussions, and foreseeing if you continue religiously to follow these discussions as we're thinking, we are going to have adequate resources, or maybe the first adequate resources for green finance for Kenya and Africa. So I thank everyone for getting time to come, and please let's keep the discussion, but as we go, we have to leave the world for the future generation better than found. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. It's an honor to have you today. You took your time out of your busy schedule to be able to deliver this information to us. We don't take it for granted, and we really appreciate your collaboration and partnership with the center. Thank you, Fahia, for taking your time and considering partnering with us, Columbia Global Centers Nairobi. We're glad to have you. But thank you, our audience. It's wonderful to have you. We hope to see you again in future in November, I think around 16th, as well as December 4th. In person, you're welcome to come to our center and let's continue the discussion. Great to have you and have a wonderful evening. Bye.